back to the channel. This is going to be episode 2, video 2 of my docu-series on addiction and my experiences with it. So today we're going to talk about a moment in time that kind of changed fundamentally who I was as a person, and because it changed me so much, the person and ideals that I used to have were all shattered in a very brief moment. And I know that sounds extreme, but it really was that bad. And so to give you a bit of background, when I was 14 years old, at that point in my life, there'd been some bullying and things like that, but still I'm on good road, grades are good, life is good, and ignorance is good. I had no idea really about the concept of discrimination or racism or class structure or anything like that. It just didn't exist in my mind. Maybe I had some vague idea, but I don't really think I had a grasp of what those things were or that they even really existed. And that's some white privilege when you get to grow up in an environment where you don't even know what discrimination and racism really are. And so this event really, moment, I wouldn't even call it an event. It's a non-event, it's a non-thing. But this particular moment in time opened all of that up to me in a single moment. And to say that it was overwhelming doesn't do it justice. And I'm going to tell you the story, and it doesn't sound that big of a deal, but for someone who had no idea that the world didn't work with rights and wrongs, and you do good, you receive reward, you do bad, you get punished. That was how I saw the world. So imagine my surprise when it turned out that that wasn't the world. So anyway, so let's tell the story, I guess. So when I was in high school, 9th grade, I believe, maybe might have been 10th. Anyways, I was 14. I started school a year late because my birthday is in October. Anyways, so we had the entire school had been called down to the gymnasium for a message from the principal. And there was a few things, but the one thing that was focused on was foul language, and that they would be instituting a zero tolerance for foul language. If you get caught swearing, you're going to get a detention, yada, yada, yada. And it was emphasized very firmly that no tolerance whatsoever. That's fine. So he finished, bell rang, we had lunch hour. Now, our school was a little 2-story school in a square, so you could walk around it in a circle if you wish. So we would go on what we called tours of the school during our lunch breaks. So I was on one of these little tours, and this girl from Pumnico, we'll call her Eve for the sake of argument, was walking in front of me, and she saw some of her friends, and she yelled out across the hall, like down the whole length of the hall, "Hey, what the F is going on tonight? Are we gonna get effing blasted or what? Let's effing party." And right behind her, right in front of me, was the vice principal. And he didn't even raise his voice. He said, "Now, Eve, you know better than that. You should watch what you say." And he walked away. And in that moment, to say that everything I thought I knew and believed was wrong, that realization, I can't even begin to express it. It was like my whole foundation was cracking and collapsing around me. I didn't understand, because my friends were troublemakers, or they were poor, or English, because we went to a predominantly French school. And I knew in my core that if one of them had been the person swearing, that it would have been immediate detention or immediate trouble. And that realization, something snapped. And so that was the first time that I became anti-authority, I guess. I gathered up a couple of my friends, and we started our own tour. And we went around the school probably about 2 or 3 times, just swearing for no reason. until we finally got stopped by a teacher. And so she stopped us, and there was about 3 or 4 of us, and she said, "You're all going down to the office for swearing." And now 3 of them were like, "Whatever, okay, I'll go." And I, for some God knows reason, I said, "Did you see me swearing?" And she said, "No." I said, "So you didn't actually hear or see me swearing?" And she said, "No." I said, "Then I'm not going to the office. I'm going on a tour." And I turned my back on her and I walked away. And that was the first in-school suspension I got in my entire life, and it wouldn't be the last. But the realization that someone was getting treated differently, better than someone else because of who they were, of how much wealth their family had compared to these other people, I didn't know that happened. And it fundamentally changed how I viewed the world. And I wouldn't say it destroyed my foundation, my stability of confidence in myself, I guess, or in what I thought or what I know, but it definitely cracked it a lot. After that, then I started doing more things that were contrary to my normal behavior. I started slacking off in school. I started drinking. That was when I started drinking. I was just after I was 14. I was actually 15 when I started drinking. I drank for a few months and until I got caught by my parents, and that sucked. But it is what it is. And after that, I started smoking pot. I still smoke pot. I've been smoking pot my whole life, but regardless, so, for the time I was 15, I started drinking, started smoking cigarettes, started smoking pot, and then, these are things that I had sworn I would never touch, never do, never even think of being around, and here I was doing them all. And then things started to escalate, and, I'd come to school high, or I'd get high while I was at school. Grades started slipping, and it almost became a sense of a challenge to prove that I could still be as smart as I was and be a pothead. And people would make comments like that. "John, why are you smoking pot? You're so smart, you're so smart." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I am smart." And I was full of myself back then. And sometimes I still am. And it became like a challenge to see how far I could push it. And my grades, from the time I was started getting grades in school up until probably about the 10th grade, I had 90s or straight A's, whatever you want to call it. And then 10th grade, things started going downhill. 50s, I'd fail some tests, things like that. But I'd always pass, always make sure I was there. I started skipping school when I got a license and had access to a vehicle. And, it's not that I didn't have an interest in learning. I always loved learning. I still like learning now. And, if it was possible to just go to school and learn, I would do something like that because there's just so much to know. But at that point in my life, I lost direction, I guess, and I didn't know who I was anymore. So I guess I was trying to find out who that was, and I thought, no, I didn't think at all. I was just doing. And so from the time I was 15 until I was 18 or so, smoking pot, occasionally drinking that. I never really got back into the drinking for a few years, but the pot was the big one. And it didn't matter. I'd drive, go to school. When I was 18, I moved out on my own as soon as I could. Not because, again, I had great parents, great home, but just because I was looking for myself, I guess. And I ended up dropping out of high school, and I didn't finish. I did eventually go back and get it, but we'll bring that up, talk about it in another video later on. But point being was that this simple moment in time changed who I was forever. And we talk about a loss of innocence, and that can mean a lot of different things, but I think that term applies here. It was the loss of my innocence that the world is a good and just place, and that good people get good things and bad people get what they deserve. And it's not true. And a lot of people learn that younger, I think. I think maybe I was naive, optimistic, endlessly hopeful. But whatever the case, it changed everything. That was the first major turning point in my life, and it turned an innocent young boy with dreams and this sunshine and rainbows view of the world into a lost, scared child. And I can say that now looking back, but I couldn't have said it then. So that's that's it. That little moment in time that started me down a road that will lead to some pretty terrible choices, a lot of sadness, some tragedy, some what I recall as happiness and joy, but yeah, it's hard to tell now. So in the next video, we are going to talk about the catalyst, the big thing that happened in my life that set me over the edge, that has affected me more for the last 23 years than anything else in my life. Sometimes I'm aware of it, sometimes I'm not. So it's going to be a pretty heavy episode, and I'm not sure I'm going to try to keep it below 20 minutes, but I'll probably have a lot to say. It's very emotional and very personal subject, so I hope you'll tune in. If you're looking for the first video, you can find it down below in the description. And yeah, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more content or finish the docu-series as I move along. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch, and for the few new subscribers. I know 77 doesn't sound like a lot to many people, but it means 77 people chose to come here, watch, and they want to come back to see what I have to say, and that means a lot to me. So thank you very much. And for everyone else who's coming here and downvoting my videos just because you don't like me because of the political stances that I take and the other videos that I make, that's all right too. At least you're watching. Maybe somewhere along the way you're going to learn something. So thanks for joining me today. I know this one was a lot shorter, and I'm trying to keep them below 15 minutes. It's a little easier for people to take that in rather than sit for longer. So thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Pandora's Box.